Now turn to section 1. You will hear a woman phoning about her membership of a carpool, a type of car-sharing organisation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, your carpool. How can I help?
Oh, hello. Look, I used one of the cars earlier and I want to complain. I'm not one to make a fuss usually, but this isn't the first time there's been a problem. I'm getting fed up with it.
I'm sorry to hear that. Can I take your membership number first?
Yes, it's 520016.
520016. Is that Julie speaking?
Yes, Julie Gold.
Hi, Julie. Now, let me just check your booking. Your complaint's about the most recent booking, is it?
Well, yes, this complaint is. But like I say, it's not the first.
OK, so that was the Fiat. Registration number YPT723S in City Street this morning at 10:30?
Yes, that's it. But no, I think it was the car in Baker Road.
My records say City Street. That's the grey Fiat.
Oh, yes, Baker Road was yesterday.
And that booking was fine?
Well, yes, that one was.
Good. So what exactly was the problem today then?
Now you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 5 to 10.
OK, I went to pick the car up and it wasn't in the parking bay. I was in quite a hurry and I have to say it was very stressful. Of course, I thought somebody else still had the car out. Anyway, I was about to phone when I saw the car on the other side of the street about 100 metres down. Can't you make it clear to users that they have to park the cars back in the bays?
Well, yes, we do. If I had to guess, I'd say that the previous user left it there because the bay was occupied. We'll phone to check and find out, but that's the most likely explanation.
But people aren't supposed to be occupying the parking bays, are they?
Well, no, but they do. They usually think it's okay to park for a few minutes.
Well, in that case, shouldn't members wait until somebody comes back to get their vehicle? I mean, in that situation, I always hoot and keep on hooting to alert the car owner to the fact I'm there and that I expect them to move. It usually takes only a few minutes. I wish people would show a little more patience.
As I say, I'll phone and...
There are other things I want to discuss. When I did eventually get to the car, I was shocked at how filthy it was, both inside and out. The wheels and the bottom of the vehicle were covered in mud. Inside, the carpets were muddy too, and the back seat covered in dog hair. It's pretty obvious that the last user had driven out to the country to take his dogs out walking. Can't there be some rules about what people can and can't use the cars for?
I hear what you're saying, Julie. I think this is a fair point, and I'm very sorry. I certainly will call the previous user to take this up.
And make sure that the cars are given a decent valeting every so often. Right, one more thing. Once I'd dusted off the seat and found the keys, I expected them to be left under a seat or in the door compartment, I finally started up the engine. I was dismayed to see how low the fuel gauge was. This has been the case before, and it's really annoying. I thought the membership regulations state quite clearly that it's the driver's responsibility to fill up when the gauge goes below the quarter full mark. Am I right?
Yes, that is what we say.
So how come I had to sort that out before I could get on with my journey?
Look, I think all things considered, we'll compensate you for your experience today. How does that sound, Julie?
Are you going to scrap the payment for today's booking?
Well, I could do that, but now the booking's on the system, it's complicated. I'd rather offer you complimentary hours. Today's booking was for 4 hours, so we'll say you have 4 hours of uncharged usage taken off your next bill.
But what if my next booking is for less than 4 hours?
Don't worry. The booking will not be charged and the remaining amount will automatically go forward to the booking after that. All you have to do is key free hours into the comments option when you make the booking online.
OK. I guess I should say thank you, but I'm still very cross.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You will hear a talk about the main points of interest and the improvements made in the area. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Thank you all for coming to our community meeting. As you know, we're excited to unveil our improvement plan as we look forward to the influx of tourists in the summer months. I'll start with a quick overview of the main points of interest in the area for anyone who may not quite know his or her way around yet, and then I'll get to the improvements made. First off is my favourite, the Science Museum, which is on the corner of St George Road. If you have not visited yet, I encourage you to go before the busy season. It is absolutely spectacular. There is even a flight simulator you can try out. Just west of the Science Museum is the National History Museum. It's a sight not to be missed as well, with each floor devoted to a different era in our nation's history. There are special exhibits for children with interactive games and fun history lessons too. If you're looking for parking, it is available on the intersection of Queen Street and South King Street in the car park. Standard hourly and daily rates do apply. The best place for souvenirs is the shopping mall, though it gets extremely busy during peak times. You can get there from the Tube or the entrance on Timber Road, just south of Cornwell Road. This area has students everywhere, usually from the primary school across the street from the shopping mall. Classes often take field trips and engage in guided tours through the area. So that's the overview of the main sites, and hopefully by now I've given you a general idea of the area.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now I'm going to outline the improvements we have made in our efforts to make the experience even better for each and every one of our visitors. You probably noticed when you first drove into the car park this morning that there is now additional signage to help avoid confusion. The directions were not entirely clear at first, so we have increased the number of one-way signs indicating the correct direction of traffic flow. Not far from there, in line with our mission of giving back to the community, we constructed a brand new playground for the primary school. It is really something to be excited for. The equipment is state-of-the-art and includes swings, a small climbing wall, and even an obstacle course. Now we'll head north and take a look at the Science Museum. In response to our feedback from past visitors to the museum, there is now free information available outlining not only upcoming IMAX showings, but also natural wonders like meteor showers, eclipses, and other cool natural events. The Science Museum isn't the only museum improving the experience of its visitors. The National History Museum has added an entire new wing to its facility to accommodate the large crowds of people gathering to see the Civil War exhibit, Inventions Timeline exhibit, and other wonderful sections of the museum. The increase in space will definitely give a more calm, comfortable experience for visitors. And finally, remember when there was actually a line at the mall entrance from the tube station? It was terrible trying to get anywhere from the tube because foot traffic got so backed up sometimes. We have addressed that by adding another entry point into the mall from the other end of the platform to disperse the crowd. So those are the major improvements we have made. Clearly, having too many people that want to visit and enjoy what our community has to offer the public is a good problem to have, and I am confident that we have made the changes necessary to accommodate the growing interest in the area. As always, we welcome any questions, comments, or concerns about the new improvement plan. In a few minutes, I will open up the floor for questions, but you can also contact me or any other board member by email or through the city website. Thank you for coming, and I now encourage you to stay for the questions and answers panel occurring between now and 10:30.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a student, Kayana, and a professor about an assignment. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 27. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 27.
Hi, Dr. Reed. Are you busy right now? Do you mind if I come in for a second?
Hey, Kiana. No, I don't mind at all.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that I'm enjoying your Urban Studies course and that I'm having some trouble with the first assignment.
Okay, no problem. What do you want to ask?
This is my first time writing a paper of this length.
All right. What sort of trouble are you running into?
Well, writing more than 10 pages is actually turning out to be quite a task. I've been rereading some of the material, and I'm just not sure how to approach the assignment.
Yes, it takes some time to get used to academic writing assignments.
More time than I expected, really. I also want to do a really good job on the assignment. I don't want to put a half-hearted effort into it.
I'm glad to hear that. I'll say that these assignments get easier to manage as time goes on.
That's a small relief.
I mean, it gets easier to plan the assignment and to organise one's time, but it still takes hard work and a sincere effort to produce a good piece of academic writing. My role is to guide you to the readings I think are the most relevant and to give you tips on managing your time.
Okay, could we talk about the readings then?
Sure, we can go over them.
I guess I want to ask about the Coal House text first. It seems like a pretty interesting book.
But sometimes a bit over the top, no? I would recommend reading just the first part of the book. It's the most relevant to the assignment that I gave you. The rest of the text goes on about a topic we will cover later in the semester.
All right, I'll just read the intro then.
As for the Peely article, oh, did you read that one?
Yes, I accessed it online and then printed it out.
Okay. I would recommend you review that again. Also, remember what I said about the Liebskid article?
I think you told the class to focus on the research methods, right?
Yes. She approaches the problem in an innovative way. Let's see. For the Gary article, I think you should... Let me see. I think it would be best for you to read just the conclusion.
Just the conclusion. I see.
Yes, I would ask you to read the whole thing, but this way would be more efficient. Speaking of which, you should not bother reading the Wolfson article.
Yeah, it didn't seem particularly relevant to the topic.
Let's see. Any other reading you wanted to talk about?
Let me see. Yes, the Cudler article. What do you think of that one?
Ah, yes. How could I forget? That one is pretty central to the topic. I really think you must go over it again.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 28 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 28 to 30.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to ask about?
Yes, I wanted to ask about the line graph that you provided. It seems that the legend identifying the different parts is not there.
Ah, it must not have been photocopied correctly. Here, let me explain them. They all represent percentages of the population in Manassas, okay? Line 1 here at the top is the percentage of people who were born in a foreign country.
Born outside the country. Okay, and this one?
The next line down, line 2 refers to the percentage of people with citizenship.
All right, got it.
Those making a middle-class wage are represented by the fifth line down.
Okay, middle-class wage earners. And the line number 4?
That is the percentage of people with a college education or higher.
All right, and the one in the middle?
That one is the percentage of population who are married and have children.
Got it. Thank you so much, Dr. Reed. I really appreciate your help.
That is the end of Session 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Two.
Today on the food programme, I'm going to be telling you about 2 interesting websites which give you information about 2 very important foods, rice and noodles. First of all, let's look at the PageWise website. This site will tell you all about the history of rice, about the rice harvest, the different types of rice, how to cook it, and what else you can do with it. For example, did you know that rice belongs to the grass family and was first grown about 5,000 years ago in India? It was introduced into Europe about 700 years ago and arrived in the USA in 1726. Nowadays, more than 550 million tonnes is produced around the world each year, 92% of that being produced in Asia. Rice is the staple food for the majority of the world's population. That is, far more meals are based on rice than on anything else. It is naturally fat and sodium-free, and one serving has only 103 calories, so it's very good for you. Interestingly, although rice isn't as rich in vitamin C as the potato, for example, it is less fattening. Now, I always find rice difficult to cook, but the best way, apparently, is to keep the lid on the pan when you boil it. This will keep the steam in and produce perfect rice every time. One interesting thing to note is that European and American rice, which is grown in dry fields, absorbs a lot more water than Asian rice, which is grown in flooded fields. Now, other things you can do with rice besides eat it. You can make drinks from it, glue to stick paper together with, and also you can make clothes from it. Moving on now to the Japanese food page. There you can find out about the history of the noodle at the Yokohama Noodle Museum site. Noodles can be made from rice or wheat and are the fast food of Japan. There are more noodle shops in Japan than any other kind of restaurant. According to this website, noodles make one of the quickest and least expensive meals, much quicker than a rice dish, for example. The museum, which opened in March 1994, sounds like it's well worth a visit if you go to Japan. It's more than just an ordinary museum. It's part theme park and part restaurant. And it stays open later than most museums, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., with the last admission being 10 p.m. The museum is open every day except for Tuesday, with Sunday being the busiest day and Thursday being the least busy. The first floor of the museum has a souvenir shop, and you can buy noodle-related objects online as well. It sells bowls for eating noodles out of, equipment for making noodles, even curtains with pictures of noodles on them. There are empty noodle packets on the walls for decoration, and overhead TVs show adverts for noodles from the past 25 years. You can see a display showing how noodles are made, and also one giving the history of the noodle. On 2 underground levels, there is a historical theme park with shops, houses and restaurants from the year 1958. There are also 8 different noodle shops serving 10 different types of noodle. If you want to go, you can get there by train. The museum is only a 3-minute walk from JR Shin Yokohama railway station. Shin Yokohama is about 45 minutes from Tokyo. On the programme next week, we'll be talking about the